Good morning. If you're tuning in, this is KBC Channel 1 and Good Morning Kenya. I'm Regina Manyara Gitao. Now, Kenya was thrown to a tailspin in the last 48 hours after an Ebola scare. Question is abound is how prepared are we in the event of such an eventuality? Our state organs are ready to tackle that issue. Statistics are that Eastern Congo is already struggling to control the spread of Ebola that has already claimed 1,400 people as per the World Health Organization report, while our neighbor to the west, that is Uganda, is also working round the clock to mitigate the spread of the deadly Ebola virus. Yesterday, a patient X tested a negative for the Ebola virus. That is according to the Health Cabinet Secretary Cecil Kariuki. Now, questions are, yes, there was a scare of the Ebola virus, but what are we doing to ensure that in the event of such an occurrence, that you and I are safe? This morning, we're going to be putting that into perspective, and I'm joined by the County Commissioner Busia, Mr. Jacob Narengo. Welcome.
Thank you.
It has been a quite tense 48 hours for the country in general after the suspected patient, or rather a victim, or rather we call him patient X, was intercepted at the Kericho referral hospital. Yes, she has tested negative, but what next? I'm sure from your end, you've been doing all that you can to ensure that our border, especially the Malaba-Busia border, it has already been pinned as very porous. Yeah. So what is being done to ensure that we do screenings, or rather to secure the border post?
Thank you, Manyara. As the county commissioner in charge of Busia, which is our borderline county, public safety and health is a priority of the government to ensure that its citizens are secure. So as a county, in the last 2 months actually, when the spread of Ebola was detected in Congo, as a county, we've put so many measures in place, including sensitization. And then we also mobilize our border management committees, especially at the border posts, with our counterparts on the Ugandan side, that is Busia, Uganda, and the district of Tororo, that is on the Malaba side. We made sure that the screening at the border post is done. Among the 7 counties, sub-counties, the 7 sub-counties in the county, 5 of the sub-counties are at the borderline. That is Bunyala, Samia, Busia sub-county, Teso South, and Teso North. We've made sure that at the Busia border post, teams have been mobilized. We have screening desks. And in Malaba also, we have screening desks whereby all passengers coming from Uganda, truck drivers, passengers on buses are screened at the border post. And what we have been urging the public for their own safety is that they make use of the border post, because that is where we have the screening desks.
Yes, I was about to come to that. Thank you that you said that during at the border post we have the screening units there for persons who are using the buses and public transport and private transport. But now we have, you've said Busia is a border county.
Yes.
With our neighbor Uganda. And the people who are not using the border, they're using motorcycles or other border to access either Uganda or Uganda to Kenya. What then is happening for those people who are in such kind of a transit?
We have urged the public in general through the local FM stations, Busia FM and the other local stations within the county. We've talked with the border riders. We have the so-called border owners association and border riders association. We've sensitized all of them to avoid panya routes, so to speak, that if they are carrying passengers from across, of which it's not also allowed, the only gazetted area within the borderline are the 2 border posts. That is Busia, 1-stop border post, and Malaba, 1-stop border post. And in Sioport also, that is within Samia sub-county, we have the customs at the port there. And in Port Victoria, we also have customs officers, because there are passengers who normally use boats from across. Those are fishermen ferrying their fish products to a Kenyan market.
So what has been the response? You've been doing this drive for the last 2 months.
Yes.
Have Kenyans or persons involved adhered to your edits?
They have really adhered, and they are cooperating. Yes, they are cooperating, and I want to thank all of them for being law-abiding and accepting that matters to do with health is everybody's priority. Yes.
Now, we've had cases of what happened in 2014, especially in Western Kenya, and it had an overall trickle effect on the economies of Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone, and Congo right now. They're really struggling to just put it together. Now, there's been the question, and the World Health Organization has been putting that the people who are usually forgotten are the persons at the frontline workers, the medical practitioners who are the ones who are giving the vaccines. Is there a way that we have at the border posts and also the hospitals, and especially in Malaba and Busia, are these people also being vaccinated, or what measures have been taken to ensure that our frontline workers do not get exposed?
We have the rapid health team from headquarters, from the county government of Busia and the neighboring counties of Bungoma. There is a multi-agency team that has been sensitizing the public. We visited the 17 public health facilities along the borderline. And in all those facilities, nurses and all the personnel staff, health staff, have been sensitized on how to respond and how to actually get prepared in case of any emergency. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, suspect X, or rather patient X as we call it, though she tested negative,
yeah,
was quarantined at Kericho.
Yes.
Kericho is quite a distance from Busia, so it means there was a line of exposure between the border all the way to Kericho. Yeah. With these new findings, yes, she has tested negative, but now you look at the line of exposure. With that kind of findings, what are we going to do? Because we're already finding that we're finding these places, or rather suspect patients are already getting to the mainland, if I may say, to the center of the country. What are we doing to ensure that does not happen again?
The general public along the borderline, that is Busia, Malaba, and all the 5 sub-counties along the borderline, all of them have been alerted that anybody who feels that they're feeling an issue should go to the nearest health facility, okay? Because that patient actually, that suspect, so to speak, left Malaba. We don't know which route she used to Kericho, but now that that happened, the public have been notified that they should seek attention, medical attention in any public health facility, and then the border posts along the borderline, where there are screening desks, they should all ensure that they utilize those screening desks along the borderline. Yes.
So basically, for us to be better prepared in
yes,
such an eventuality,
yeah,
we are appealing on the public
yes,
to actually be cooperative, because this is something in kwa hiari yako.
Correct.
But now we've seen cases. Have you seen people going to various hospitals with symptoms, or rather, things? Because we've said Ebola out. The information is that Ebola signs and symptoms can usually be. It's very hard to distinguish because they look like high typhus fever. They look like meningitis, malaria, and yet you see we are almost to the lake. That is an area. The western region is known for malaria. Yeah. Have we seen people respond to this kind of campaign to come on over when you feel you're not okay in light of this situation?
The public have been alerted, and we have implored upon them to be on the lookout, okay, to seek medical attention in case of anything unusual. Yes.
Anything unusual?
Yes.
Okay, that is quite abstract, but it kills away because you do not know exactly what it is.
You don't know exactly what it is, so that the only place that it can be diagnosed is in a health facility. So they should seek medical attention there so that they can be attended to. Yes.
Now, it would be very wrong of us to have the county commissioner here on our set discussing the issues of Ebola preparedness and how we are prepared to tackle that in case of any eventuality, and not talk about the porosity of our borders. The Malaba-Busia borders has been, has made headlines for the wrong reasons, especially when it comes to illicit trade. We've seen alcohol, drugs, all coming in through those particular borders. What haven't we gotten right?
Well, as a borderline county, we have a 57-kilometer borderline stretch, porous border. 2 sub-counties served by the lake, that is Bunyala and Samia, and 3 sub-counties within the borderline. We have several panya routes, so to speak. As county security team and the multi-agency team within the county, we've been able to do our best to intercept. But smugglers are very smart too. And they operate at odd hours, not during the day. They operate at odd hours. We've tried to lay ambush. That's why we've succeeded in interception, especially on contraband goods, like cigarettes, supermatch cigarettes, beer. The beer that is meant for export finds its way back to the country again. And it is not good for economy. So as a county security team, we've been able to put strategies in place, especially at the beaches, because some also use the beaches at night. We've synthesized the beach management units. We also applied the so-called intelligence-led information to do interception. We've succeeded because between the month of January and June, we've arrested almost 500 suspects, and all of them have been arraigned in court. We've intercepted an assortment of illicit contraband goods. So we are doing our best to ensure that the borderline is secure. We've also held cross-border meetings with our counterparts in Busia, Uganda, Tororo, and then Namaingo along the lake on the Ugandan side. Through those cross-border meetings, we've succeeded in synthesizing our fishermen, the beach management units. In fact, like in September last year, we had a border commissioners meeting in Kampala, Uganda, where we discussed the many things that are posing challenges along our common border. So as a country or as a county, which is at the border, we've managed, because this illicit brews, illicit trade is what people are perfected. But we've synthesized the business community. And since most of these people are using borders, we've also synthesized the border. That the moment you allow somebody to carry contraband goods and not to pass through the border post, we are losing revenue as a country. Yes.
But when you said you have a 57-kilometer borderline stretch,
yes.
Am I sensing the issue of capacity and the need to scale up capacity so that you can tackle the issue of illicit trade along this particular borderline?
The issue of capacity does not arise because we have our security. And 190 are also our capacity because, when it comes to matter security, the public should also volunteer information to law enforcement agencies because this is our country, okay? If all those who are involved in the illicit brew will abide by and pay what is due. Because there is a simplified document called COMESA's simplified document. There are certain goods emanating from across which are not taxable. But just because in their minds they think if they don't pass through the border post, if they avoid the border post, at sasa wameapa kulipa ushuru. That's not the case. In fact, it's at the discretion of the customs officers to see which of these goods are taxable and which ones are not, by filling that COMESA simplified document at the border post. But sensitization is ongoing, and somehow we've succeeded, especially at Malaba and Busia. And even the revenue base now, so to speak, has been realized because of the measures, because we've sensitized everybody. In fact, we used to have a group in Busia called Marachi Jobless, who used to escort smugglers. We told them, are you Kenyans? Yes. Are you enjoying the free education? Yes. Are your families enjoying the free maternity? Yes. Are your kids enjoying the free boarding, free day secondary? Yes. Then, where is this money coming from? Let's all cooperate, and they are cooperating.
Now, you've said that the revenue base has actually grown through sensitization.
Yes.
The setting up of the Malaba one-stop border post has been something that operators, especially who either cross-border Busia or Uganda, Kampala to Kenya, what would you say about the ease of actually moving, the movement? You remember with the ratification of the EAC, there are certain documents that you really do not need to apply for. Has this in any way also boosted the relations that Kenya and Uganda has, and what is a trickle effect, especially on socio-economic development?
It has simplified the way business is being run, because most of the what used to be done by clearing and forwarding agent is done online. So that cumbersome queue of trucks and what have you has really been simplified. Meaning, you only come with your printouts at the border post, it's verified, and then you are being released, because payment is also done online.
Now let's,
fine. So overall, we can say that the environment of doing business, since the operationalization of the one-stop border post has been very, very effective. Yes.
Now let's talk about the vice that we've sang about, the issue of human trafficking, especially along our borderlines. What is the current situation on the Malaba-Busia borderline in as far as human trafficking is concerned? Given that you found cases where issues of malpractice in the among domestic workers, you hear this is a Ugandan, but when you ask for their documents, they do not have the documents. How do they get to the country? They actually use the public transport from these borderlines. So what is the current status?
The current status is that we've carried out cross-border sensitization with our counterparts. We've done several interceptions. In fact, for those who have been using public transport, we've also intercepted those who use border. In fact, in Busia, there is a term they use, mbuzi.
Mbuzi, like a goat?
A goat. They say, leo nimebeba mbuzi. So, if you hear somebody say that, just know that this is a foreigner who has avoided the immigration desk. Okay? So through our sensitization of border riders and border owners association, we've realized very positive results, because we've told these people, these border riders, because they're the ones who normally use these fellows, who transport mbuzi. We've told them, now, you are transporting mbuzi. You don't know the motive as to why this person has avoided the immigration desk. Because if you are from within the region, what is the fear? Yeah? Interstate pass is free. Why would one fear to pass through the border post? So we've done several interceptions by erecting roadblocks, impromptu roadblocks, especially on the domestic workers. You know, they are told if you go to Kenya, you learn as much as 50,000 shillings, you can imagine. So if a domestic worker from across hears that, then there are very good fortunes in Kenya. So we've done several interceptions and handed over to the Ugandan authorities, because there are cartels actually on the Ugandan side and on the Kenyan side.
That are making this
coordinating
this
transportation.
What are the statistics? Maybe in the first 6 months of this month, we are culminating the last 6 months here. What are the statistics of the persons you've intercepted participating in human trafficking on the border? Can you give us some statistics there?
Between January and this month, we've intercepted 88. Especially young girls, domestic workers, seeking greener pastures on the Kenyan side. Yes, using Kenyan our transport buses. And then every time we intercept them, we invite the Ugandan authorities and hand over. Because, you know, when you are being smuggled, normally these people are very innocent. But we implore upon the Ugandan authorities to find out which cartels are recruiting these people. Because the moment you intercept them, you find most of them do not even have documents. You ask them, so how do you expect to pass all these roadblocks without documentation? Because you don't even have the interstate pass, which is issued free of charge. Yes.
Now, you've said that, yes, you have invited the Ugandan counterparts to come on board and combat human trafficking along the borderline. But now what are we doing on our end of things? Have we seen people go to court, being taken to court over this matter?
Yes, yes. Several suspects. Several suspects have appeared in court, and those cases are pending before court. Yes.
Now, very well, if you've just tuning in, this morning we were putting the state of Ebola, in as far as Kenya is concerned, into perspective. It has been a tense 48 hours for a country after suspect X, or rather patient X, who turned out negative, was quarantined at Kericho Referral Hospital. The 36-year-old woman was kind of showing symptoms of Ebola. Remember, it is very difficult to distinguish between the Ebola virus symptoms that has been linked to similar symptoms like meningitis and malaria. So you've been asked, in the event that you feel that you are off and you suspect you have been exposed to the viral deadly disease, then you need to get yourself checked in a medical facility. Remember, the Eastern Congo right now has, according to the latest report, it's really fighting to stem the spread of the Ebola virus, having already lost 1,400 persons, according to reports. And we have our neighbor here to the west, Uganda, also working round the clock to ensure that that does not spread. Just to sample some of the tweets in regard to Ebola within the East African community, is that we have the president of Uganda there, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who tweeted in the last 18 hours saying that I met with the WHO Director General Dr. Tedros in Entebbe, where we discussed the Ebola situation in Kasese district. We are in agreement that the situation has been contained, although the public should stay vigilant and observe guidelines issued by the health officials. I think, Mr. Nyarengo, this goes to the work that for us to actually mitigate on the spread of the Ebola virus, is that we need to appeal to the public to be vigilant and also work with the relevant authority. Now we see, we also have someone here saying that actually this is just borrowing a bit from the report that we got from the ministry, and it said that the results test carried out by the Kenya Medical Research Institute laboratories on the blood samples from the 36-year-old lady who was currently admitted at the isolation unit at Kericho County Referral Hospital have been confirmed as negative for Ebola virus disease, EVD, and other viral hemorrhagic fevers. In this era of fake news, just early this morning, we had a fake report on the 411 alert saying that a person has succumbed to the Ebola virus in Waka. From where you stand, what are you doing to ensure to counter fake news? Because there's some people who are out here who are into alarming other Kenyans to what is not. How are we going to combat fake news? Because I tend to think it's going to be detrimental to the fight, or rather in terms of disaster preparedness, or rather in the issue of the Ebola spread. How are we going to counter fake news?
My appeal to Kenyans in general is that, you know, there are people out there who are fond of issuing alarming, or rather giving fake news. As a country now, following the testing of yesterday's suspect, the country is free of Ebola-related cases. That was the first suspect. It was confirmed negative. So as a country, there should be no need of panicking. So, but the appeal to the general public is that all public within the republic should cooperate to report, to appear before any health facility, especially along the borderline. We are talking about, we know our people going to Uganda for business trips. Anybody who have, let's say, traveled to Uganda of late, but at the border post, the appeal is this, that all those going through the border post, the entry and exit should get screened. Yeah, should get screened.
Now, in the eventuality that a person has been exposed, but for one reason or another, they are not keen on going through the distinguished, or rather set up screening units along the borderline.
Yeah.
At what point, generally, in this trickle effect, or rather in our transport system, at what point would we flag down these persons? Are there plans to ensure that in the event that they go past the borderline, that we can intercept these people that we really believe to have been exposed to this kind of virus before they get to the epicenter of the country? Are there such plans to incorporate or rather work with other, authorities along the way?
The public health officials are on high alert. Like in Busia County, which is the borderline, we've already set isolation centers at the border posts. At Busia Agricultural Training Center, we've already set it aside as a center for isolation within the county. And then there is a Busia Health Center. It has also been set aside. Okay? In Malaba border post, we have also set aside an isolation ward, just in case of any emergency during the screening. So, but the general appeal is because through the print media and what have you, those symptoms, I think by now most Kenyans have known that if the moment you realize that you are feeling chilly, you're feeling headache, all of a sudden fever, then the best place to go is to go for screening. Yes.
Now, just to set or rather just to remind you what happened yesterday, here's a story that one of our reporters, Purity Museo, had prepared in regard to the issue of the Ebola scare, where the government is allaying fears of an Ebola outbreak in the country after a patient exhibiting Ebola-like symptoms was quarantined at the Kericho Referral Hospital. Well, the cabinet secretary there, Cecily Kariuki, said that the prem analysis on samples of the patient had confirmed that she had no Ebola virus disease or any other viral hemorrhagic fevers there. So basically what the government is saying that there is need for clarification, given that the husband of the patient that was admitted on Sunday night and two others who assisted him to take her to the hospital were also placed in an isolation ward. With us this morning in studio is the County Commissioner of Busia, Jacob Narengo, saying that he is appealing to the public to work with the relevant authorities to ensure that our borders remain safe and secure in light of this particular scare. Now, we have been asking you on our social media handles is that, do you think that we are prepared, given the statistics that we've had in 2014, we saw what the Ebola virus did to the Western African regions of Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone. Then also early in 2018, there was an alert from the World Health Organization, and now Eastern Congo is really working hard, having lost 1,400 persons to the deadly virus. Just our neighbor to the west here, Uganda, is also working round the clock to ensure that, to limit the levels of exposure. Now, here in the country, we had a 48-hour Ebola scare that has, thank God, has turned negative, but we've been told to remain vigilant. So what do you and I do in light of that? Now we're here. So you've worked at the border and you've seen what the public health sector officers are doing. So just to give us an overview of symptoms on how we should act on an individual level in the event that I feel that I have been exposed to the virus.
Well, the general knowledge is that in case a patient or a suspect is suffering from, feels that he or she is feeling there are all of a sudden fever, okay, feeling chilly, and then vomiting. Those are the general conditions that will show that that person is feeling unusual about a given Ebola or whatever. So, but the appeal to the general public is that they should they feel such symptoms like vomiting, fever, headache, they should just rush to the nearest public facility, health facility, for screening purpose. Yes, screening
not
purpose.
just to go back home and say that the fever is going to clear.
The best place is a health facility for screening purpose.
Now, not to be subjudice because this matter is already in court. There's been a proposal by that was read in the budget 2019-2020, where the CS there said that border operators need to have insurance not just for their passengers but also for pedestrians. In Western Kenya, we know that border is actually the highest means of transport. What is your take, given in light of the issues that borders have been used by criminals to either propagate human trafficking, as you've said, to mebeba mbuzi? That is something that I've learned today.
Yes.
But now also it has a tool of trade. What is your take on that?
Well, I think the reaction has not come out very clearly. But since border are in associations, okay, as a borderline county, because that is the main use of transport, is just to appeal to them that it's for their own good, that the insurance, because even now they are within the NHIF, they have SACCOs to help their families. So now that the government has issued a directive for them to have a comprehensive insurance cover, it will be good for them to cooperate and ensure that this particular directive benefits them. Yes. Yeah.
Now, in the next 2 days, KBC, your sports partner, where we are right now, is going to be televising the 52 matches of the African Championship Cup 2019.
Yes.
And we're going to be showing these matches live here, live. We'd want to know, first of all, let me just say, are you a soccer fan? Maybe we may be talking to either the converted or the ones that we want to convert to come over and watch the AFCON. Are you a soccer fan?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, which team do you support? I know the Premier League is over, but hey, which team do you support?
Am I the Premier League?
Yeah, I mean, which teams do you support? You can do La Liga, Bundesliga,
I'm a supporter of Liverpool.
The people who never walk alone.
Yes.
And you did magic during these games.
Yes.
I hope you have a better season going forward. Now, Harambee Stars is going to be participating. So much has been talked about, and some are feeling that we do not stand a chance, especially with Senegal. What's your take? In our group, we've been pulled alongside Senegal, and word is that we'd rather tackle Tanzania. They look like a soft, or rather low-hanging fruit for the Kenyan team. What's your take?
No, during the AFCON, actually, our team is strong. And we should be confident ourselves that we are geared towards winning. So the the Harambee Stars, which are our premier, whatever team within the Republic, should be confident of themselves that they will, this time round, now that after a long time, they are now appearing in the AFCON, they should now strive and ensure that they give us good results. Yeah.
Very well said. If you've joined us this morning, we have been looking at the issue, the state of preparedness, and as far as Ebola is concerned, the last 48 hours have quite been a tense moment for government authorities, and you and I as Wanjiko here wondering what next, given what we have seen happening from areas of the western region of the world there. With just in 2014, the Western Africa was hard hit by the Ebola virus there, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone, with stories to tell, and they're still grappling with that. Eastern Congo, and 1,400 persons lost. There was an alert in 2018 from the World Health Organization about the Ebola virus. Our neighbors to the west there, that is Uganda, really working around the clock to ensure that this does not spread further. Now, we're just putting that, and we said the authorities can only work with you and I. So if you feel that you are presenting symptoms, feverish, vomiting, these are symptoms that are very similar to malaria, meningitis, and typhus fever. So this is something that you need to get checked in a health facility. Just don't take a Panadol or a painkiller, whatever it is, to try and, bring it down. And if you believe, the rate of exposure, it's a high time you went and sought a medical intervention there. A patient, or rather suspect X, has been proved negative, so there's no need for alarm there. This is given that the last 24 hours we've already been receiving fake news that a person has died in Rwaka over the Ebola virus. Just to say, this is fake news, so be alert to fake news. The government has come out and said that indeed there is no threat in as far as Ebola virus is concerned, but we've been asked as a public to remain vigilant there. Just 2 days to go, we've been asking our guest this morning, who's the County Commissioner of Busia, to just tell us what he thinks about the performance of Harambee Stars come the next 48 hours when it's going to debut. Remember, KBC Channel 1 is your sports partner, and we're going to be televising these matches to you live. So pick your side. Some of us have already picked sides, but because we want to be patriotic, we're saying, hey, we're going to stand with our team. Matasi there, he has a lot of work there, being the goalkeeper. I am still disappointed why they never picked Kip Kirui there, top scorer of Gor Mahia, to just go to this team. He's good. He would have made in some few shots here and there, but hey, let's just say we need to support our men. Now, just as we come to a close, we'd want, we are in the AFCON we've moved away from the issues of Ebola. Just appeal to our audience. We've already said that KBC is going to be televising this matches live. So what would you have, you people in Busia who are watching? I'm sure the signal is fine. What did you say about the KBC signal in Busia County?
Well, the KBC signal in Busia is perfect. And as part of my parting shot, I want to appeal to the people in Busia and in Kenya in general that our country is free of Ebola. All Kenyans should be on the lookout. And for the benefit of our residents of Busia, there are screening facilities in all the 5 sub-counties. In Port Victoria, there are screening facilities for Ebola. In Isiolo Port, there are screening facilities for Ebola. In Busia, at the border post, there are screening facilities. At the Alupe hospital, there are screening facilities. And in Malaba, we have screening facilities for Ebola. And then all Kenyans should support our Harambee Stars team during the AFCON match.
Thank you very much. I was just trying to take up that the 5 screening units rather that are spread along the 57-kilometer borderline. Yes, stretch. So yes, if you cannot get to Malaba, then you can go to Isiolo Port or Alepe or Port Victoria, and the 2 others. Just get to know where it is that you can get screened for the Ebola virus. And this just comes in time when government has said and released the results that Kenya is indeed has tested, or rather person suspect X has tested negative for the Ebola virus. That means that Kenya is Ebola free, so there's no need for alarm or alert, but we've been told to remain vigilant, because for them to actually do their work is that you and I have to work together to inform them of what is happening. This has been KBC Channel 1 and will forever remain so. Now we're doing Good Morning Kenya. In not too long, we're going to be putting matters of how to handle the media, and also that pet that you have at home, how well are you taking care about that animal that you have within your home? That and so much more here on KBC Channel 1 Good Morning Kenya. I'm Regina Manyara Gitao. My guest this morning has been the County Commissioner of Busia, Mr. Jacob Narenda. They're saying, yes, we are negative in as far as Ebola virus is concerned, but we have been asked to remain vigilant. We take a short break, but in return, so much more on Good Morning Kenya, so do keep it right here.